issue here. I'm not saying anything quite yet. However, Miss Simpson, the housekeeper, has not been one to ever exaggerate or lie or anything ever during this trial. And the fact that the brown hair found at the actual crime scene, the brown hair, piece of hard evidence, right, in Maggie Simpson's hands is very troubling, okay? It could just, everybody says, oh, it could just be a random person who was passing through who had brown hair. But again, they're missing the forest for the trees, okay? Who testified on the stand multiple times to running favors for Maggie Murdaugh all the time, whether it was with personal paperwork, things at the office, okay? Legal process serving for documents and checks and sometimes even cash, right? Wasn't somebody who was passing through. Who did that was Nathan Tuten. No one else. And that's the key. Now, I'm not saying it 100% is him yet. I'm saying it's likely that that strand of hair belonged to him. And if that's confirmed finally, it just takes only a few hours to check that through forensics to confirm it or not, right? Then that indicates Nathan was most certainly involved with Alex Murdaugh during this time more than anyone has claimed or suggested. So again, some people could think, well, that means obviously he was the shooter. He came in there, and so on. Alex didn't do anything. Again, folks, it doesn't add up, because then why would Alex Murdaugh have the actual tarp, right? And the tarp have that strange residue on it. And the tarp be absolutely, obviously soaking wet from being near the area of the kennels where they hose everything down with water. However, the piece of hair is a key piece of evidence, you bet, in confirming once and for all that Nathan was involved in this in far more ways than one. Again, they've got the unknown cell phone data that's still being combed through. I kind of showed a little bit of it here in this video. It's hard to explain. It's hard to know. But inferring based upon certain key records of evidence, certain files in the actual case, in the court documents, makes it clear to me it was Nathan. So Nathan was there, okay. Was he shooting anyone? No, not necessarily, but you can't rule out that he didn't assist with the firearms in some way. And so then suddenly one of the defense's original arguments unintentionally ends up being true in a way. Because although Alex Murdaugh clearly had to have been the one, because of certain things found with the timeline of events that cannot be explained away, because of certain things found around the firearms and him being at the direct area right when they get, shot and so on. Clearly he was the trigger man, okay? But that doesn't at all absolve Nathan anymore, because that shows, okay, folks, if this is truly confirmed finally, that's what I've been meaning to get to the whole time, right? It shows that Nathan was directly assisting Alex Murdaugh with this murder, and therefore maybe he scrubbed the guns, or he dumped the guns, or something. He was there because the cabin was clearly occupied. The light was on at the cabin. My theory goes, again, the hair ends up matching. It's obviously a clear match to Nathan. Nearly. All the way across. Then he was staying at the cabin. Question is why? Why was he staying at the cabin on the night of the murders? My theory, based upon the evidence I've seen and based upon certain cell phone records now, some presented in this video, is he was doing that because he was assisting Alex with this crime. Bottom line. He didn't need to be the trigger man. You don't always have to be the trigger man to cover up something like a double homicide. Okay? But he was at the kennels. And Nathan lied, therefore, about he never ever went back to the kennels after his little summer vacation. He let a Freudian slip out when he was on the stand that I don't think people caught. Someone said, basically, from the prosecution side, so you were going down the kennels all the time and you were checking everything out, at the kennels as far as near where the hangar is all the time? I said, oh yeah, all the time. He said something to the effect of, yes, all the time. And then he said, so every day, and then the defense even asked him as well. So every day you were talking to Paul when he would go over, the kennels and things. And, oh yeah, I would call and I would text Paul each and every day. Each and every day. He didn't say once in a while and then he went back to school. Nothing like that. He said each and every day. So did he let a Freudian slip out? A Freudian slip, as they call in law. Was that possibly a Freudian slip? Because that would indicate, no, he didn't just go there during the vacation. He was still going into the dog kennels, even in the month of June. That essentially proves the point. And if he was there, and he was going there not just once in June, but whenever he wanted in June, who's to say he wasn't there at the exact same time with Alex when the shooting occurs? And my bet is based upon some of the events from the cell phone records that were extracted. He had to have been there assisting Alex somehow because the cabin was occupied. The cabin is never occupied. The light is never on. And the light was also already on and already active and all of this over at the kennels. So you can't see, It seems very plausible to me that Nathan Tuten was helping clean up the crime scene with Alex Murdaugh. Love you and Blanca cook dinner. Maggie Murdaugh receives incoming calls from the Proctors. Maggie Murdaugh texts Proctor. Can't talk now. Paul Murdaugh replies, what dinner did she make? Maggie Murdaugh texts Paul, country fried steak. Alex Murdaugh's Chevy Suburban shows the device connecting then to the iPhone satellite station. Interestingly, Paul Murdaugh calls friend Nolan Tuten, who answers promptly at 5 minutes and 50 seconds. Alex Murdaugh's Suburban leaves PMPED at exactly 6:25. Alex Murdaugh receives another call from Jay Parker. Not sure why they included all that, but they did. Paul Murdaugh texts Britt again, maybe Saturday. Paul Murdaugh calls Robert Boyle. Paul Murdaugh calls Alex Murdaugh again. Alex Murdaugh's Suburban is connected then directly to the iPhone satellite. After it connects, Alex Murdaugh arrives at 4147 Moselle. Alex Murdaugh calls Maggie, receives no answer at all. Maggie Murdaugh's own iPhone, which by the way, we have now confirmed was always in airplane mode, interestingly enough, has another missed call from Alex Murdaugh right about the time of approaching 7 p.m. Maggie Murdaugh receives a phone call again. Alex Murdaugh calls the father, Terry Brenstetter. Paul Murdaugh calls John Marvin for 1 minute. Paul Murdaugh sends a text message to CB Rowe asking, "Are you coming now tomorrow?" Paul says to CB Rowe, "Sunflowers died. We need to plow them under." Maggie Murdaugh calls Alex Murdaugh again. Alex Murdaugh's iPhone satellite data shows 165 steps. Paul Murdaugh arrives at Moselle Road. Maggie Murdaugh calls Paul for less than 2 minutes. Alex Murdaugh texts Maggie again. "Call you when I'm done." Maggie Murdaugh calls Courtney Shelbourne. Missed call. Alex Murdaugh calls the mother for 8 minutes. Paul Murdaugh's iPhone satellite results in 208 steps. Alex Murdaugh shows 200 steps. Maggie Murdaugh calls Barbara. Alex Murdaugh texts again saying, "CB Rowe, call me please." Paul Murdaugh's iPhone satellite shows 139 steps entered. Alex Murdaugh's iPhone shows 47 steps entered. Maggie Murdaugh calls Proctor again for 7 minutes. Paul Murdaugh receives a Snapchat from Michelle Beck stating, because I have short-term memory loss. Paul Murdaugh receives text from someone named Megan Kimbrough. Paul. Maggie Murdaugh calls Barbara again. Murdaugh's iPhone or Snapchat video that's shown of the physical location they're going to. 29 steps. 29 steps are recorded on Alex Murdaugh's iPhone satellite. Paul Murdaugh's iPhone shows 89 steps. Maggie Murdaugh calls Barbara again. Paul Murdaugh's iPhone shows less than 7% battery. Alex Murdaugh's phone records 270 steps. Paul Murdaugh's phone shows 262 steps. Paul Murdaugh's iPhone is at the caretaker. Paul Murdaugh shoots a video, has very little battery. Paul Murdaugh receives a Snapchat message from Brian. Needs some straps. Alex Murdaugh's iPhone records another 54 steps, which is unusual. Paul Murdaugh's iPhone shows 303 steps. Paul Murdaugh sends another Snapchat to their friend list. Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone shows device locked at 8:31 p. approximately 8:31 p.m. which is unusual. Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone records 38 steps. Paul Murdaugh's iPhone shows less than 4% battery. Paul Murdaugh receives a Snapchat from someone named Ansley Wilson. Magic touch. Paul Murdaugh sends outgoing Snapchat to Marlene Robinson. He's her. Paul Murdaugh sends another one to someone named Megan Kimbrell. Megan. Paul Murdaugh receives an iMessage from Megan Kimbrell. Were you avoiding me? Paul Murdaugh responds to Megan Kimbrell stating when. Paul Murdaugh receives text from Morgan stating I have not received anything yet. Paul Murdaugh receives a text. You didn't send me any recommendation. Paul Murdaugh responds to someone named Megan Kimbrell. Haha, I don't have a good one. Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone records another 43 steps, apparently. Another text from this person, Megan Kimbrell. A text, it's a group text from John Marvin. I plan to go over to visit. Now, what's interesting there is, and important to make note of, so I'm not going to show anything else here. It says, I plan to go visit. At that time, it was after the appointed time. So the iPhone, which was actually locked in airplane mode, okay, did not unlock for any types of notification, meaning no new messages could come in. No new anything could apparently come in for some reason until 8:49 p.m. and 26 seconds. And that's a key issue in the timeline for the homicide. Maggie Murdaugh's phone unlocks and the orientation changes to landscape from portrait mode. A message from Lynn G is, quote, read. So somebody reads a message there. Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone is then locked tight, which is interesting. Paul Murdaugh receives an incoming call from Lucille Boyle. Or a person named Lucille. Paul Murdaugh's iPhone records another 283 steps. %, battery. And then Paul Murdaugh calls Rogan Gibson right before they shoot the dog kennel video. Paul Murdaugh receives a Snapchat. Paul Murdaugh's iPhone shows 2% battery. The Maggie Murdaugh iPhone screen turns on. Again, Paul Murdaugh initiates FaceTime with Rogan. At the kennels, he shoots his Snapchat recorded video of the whole incident. Paul Murdaugh services the iPhone through satellite. Paul Murdaugh sends text to a person named Megan Kimbrell. Star was born. Paul Murdaugh receives another text from this Megan Kimball person saying, "No, I need something happy now." Paul Murdaugh's phone was unlocked at 8:48, 58 seconds. One of the last times. Paul Murdaugh's iPhone then locks for the last time at 8:49. Maggie Murdaugh's phone unlocks for a text message and implements orientation, changing back into landscape mode. Maggie Murdaugh's phone accesses the application and implements the orientation changing directly to landscape. Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone is locked for the last time until it's found by the side of the road. Now, the groundskeeper was never there. None of these things have to do with CB Row. So something happened there, actually, to both Paul and Maggie Murdaugh's cell phone. It cannot simply be explained by any type of coincidence, which means someone was moving it. Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone shows another 59 steps. They record 59 steps. Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone shows then the proven orientation change. And Alex Murdaugh's own iPhone shows 283 steps taken. Paul Murdaugh receives another call later from someone of a Maria Anna Dempsey, apparently. That was never logged. And then Alex Murdaugh calls Maggie's personal cell phone again. Alex Murdaugh calls the brother again. Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone implements orientation change to a portrait mode, apparently yet again. Now, this is proof and signifies that someone was holding that cell phone based on the timeline, based upon literal hard evidence from the timeline. And that person who held that phone, which is changing the actual orientation, it could have been Alex Murdaugh. I'm also placing some bets now on it being none other than Nathan Tuten. I believe he may have held at least one of these cell phones, explaining some of the unusual activity with the phone itself. The Alex Murdaugh Suburban, his Chevy Suburban, shows device connecting kind of online then to the satellite for the iPhone station at 9:06. Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone again. And Alex Murdaugh's Suburban leaves 4147 Moselle Road en route to Alameda. Murdaugh's phone is later found. Murdaugh's SUV accelerates while he passes the point where Maggie's actual phone is discovered. And so it then says Alex Murdaugh texts Maggie Murdaugh again, "I need to go check on them." Which is interesting because if he didn't know everything that was going on, why would he be sending messages that are kind of like these types of messages after they're long gone? Alex Murdaugh then calls Buster Murdaugh at 9:10. So I'm not going to go over any more of it, but clearly it lines up because he then called Chris Wilson. The timeline lines up with the fact that that phone belonging to Maggie Murdaugh got tossed around that time. So there's a lot of theories saying that, well, he just tossed it from the SUV and it went all the way over there, over the tree. I submit, though, based upon some of the hard evidence I really looked at in this timeline, that that's not possible. That couldn't have happened. And my theory, therefore, is perhaps what did happen is Nathan may have tossed the cell phone, possibly. Yeah, from the area where he was, kind of near the dog kennels, because he didn't. It's not going to show that he particularly went inside the main kennels. He was just more outside in the outer hangar area from evidence that's collected thus far. So he could have tossed that phone. So I'm going to say. Also, they could have planned it in a way that Alex Murdaugh actually, tossed the phone himself, and it was meant to look a certain way. But certainly the extra steps taken really could only be explained by some real improvising. And I don't think it would ever be explained by somebody just getting on a golf cart necessarily and running everywhere on the golf cart. I think at most the golf cart is part of it. But he wasn't on the golf cart that entire time. And disposing of key evidence, there's no way anyone was using the golf cart necessarily. Real key right here. Thank you. After, cell phone data showed Mr. Murdaugh made several calls to Maggie. Interestingly enough, they were very poetic. His chilling final text was, "Call me, babe." Prosecutors allege that Alex Murdaugh had already killed his wife and son almost an hour before and was seeking to build an alibi. The cell phone records for each of the phones and Mr. Alex Murdaugh were revealed in court on Tuesday as the state seeks to show final communications that were made. Based on cell phone data, he stated the last text message read was a message from Lynn Murdaugh in a group chat. After 8:49 p.m. approximate, she did not open or respond to any other messages or calls. And see, that's interesting, folks, because right around that time, of 8:49 p.m. will be the time that Nathan, the busy bee that he got to end up being, would be off work for any kind of off-duty type of hours. And so it's right around that exact time where he would most certainly be over at the log cabin, which is a very important detail. Mr. Murdaugh first calls at 9:04 p.m., it says, minutes after she is shot. In total, Mr. Murdaugh called his wife 5 times altogether between 9:04 p.m. and 10:03 p.m. after the shooting. Now, normally, if you are someone who is just at the wrong place at the wrong time, you certainly wouldn't make phone calls to the person that you're suspected of possibly committing a crime on or committing a crime with. Right? No one would actually do that. And so that leads a real unmistakable conclusion there that Alex Murdaugh, was guilty of what he did and was attempting to kind of build more or less an alibi in the process. Jurors heard how the actual cell phone data was traced to show Maggie Murdaugh's orientation changed from portrait to landscape at 8:54 p.m. and again at 9:06 p.m. Health app data presented show that Maggie's cell phone recorded exactly 59 steps in 2 minutes after 8:53 p.m. Someone was holding that phone. And see, where I go with that, again, is based upon some of the information from the digital forensic unit, right? Is that may well have been Nathan holding that cell phone during some of those key times right there. Because again, you're talking about somebody who had to know the area well, held the phone, and they also knew everything about orientation change and changing certain settings on the phone. So sure, it could have been Alex. It's certainly possible, right? I'm, however, putting the theory out there that most likely it was Nathan in some of these instances when he held the actual cell phone. And he knows the technology the best, so, it would add up. So sound off in the comments. What are your thoughts? Do you feel like there's something really interesting starting to be revealed here with the timeline? Go ahead. Let everyone know exactly what you think. Thank you. 8:53 p.m. The phone switches from landscape to portrait mode. The phone's orientation switches back to landscape between 8:53 and 8:54, ending in portrait mode. The phone's camera flashes on for 1 second as if it tried to recognize a face to unlock it. At 8:55 p.m., the phone is back in landscape mode again. At 9:06 and 12 seconds, the phone switches back to being in portrait as if someone was lifting. Alex Murdaugh calls Maggie at 9:06. At 9:06 and 20 seconds, the phone stops recording in portrait mode. Alex Murdaugh calls Maggie at 9:06 and 51 seconds. Her phone records 59 steps taken between 8:53 p.m. and 8:55 p.m. John Marvin sends a text at 8:31 p.m., June 7th, 2021, about visiting his father. Maggie's sister-in-law texts within the minute, but Maggie doesn't read it until 8:49 p.m. Alex Murdaugh texts Maggie again at 9:08 p.m., but it went unread. There are 5 unanswered calls that occurred directly afterward. Alex Murdaugh attempted to call at 9:04 p.m. and 23 seconds, 9:06 p.m. and 14 seconds, 9:06 p.m. and 51 seconds, 9:45 p.m. and 32 seconds, and 10:03 p.m. 58 seconds. The 39-minute gap reflects when Alex Murdaugh told the investigators he left Moselle and visited his mother before returning home. So that's very interesting because, again, this timeline is very challenging to undo. It's almost impossible to undo. And so what it tells me and shows me is that most certainly Alex Murdaugh could have been doing that at those specific times that would cause the orientation changes. However, also based upon the amount of data that's really been collected on this, Nathan could have certainly been holding the phone at certain times as well. Quite a lot to really begin to ponder. Sound off. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings about the Alex Murdaugh case thus far? Thank you. Yeah, just a quick video here. I like cell phones actually a lot. I've done certain forensic work sometimes with cell phones as far as what they reveal, what they don't reveal. And the kind of forensic work that I've done really opens up interesting things. So it's just a very short kind of offhand comment here. I feel that this proves and essentially shows that Nathan Tuten probably did touch the cell phone during the Alex Murdaugh unfolding scenario. And that essentially that proves that it wasn't only Alex Murdaugh the whole time. And probably not more than 2 people kind of touched things like the cell phone. But there was certainly the 2 people we're talking about involved. That would be quite plainly based upon some of the evidence that's been revealed from the schedule log and so on, Nathan Tuten being at the log cabin. basically at the same time, Alex Murdaugh is pulling certain things off. And, well, the rest, as they say, is certainly history. Thank you.